Hello, it's 4:30 in the morning here from the Netherlands, January 15th, 2026, watching things unfold. I'm up early watching what's going on with Iran, and also I'm going to mention Greenland, Denmark, Panama, and a few other things. But the Iran-Israel thing is going hot and heavy. I see a lot of atrocity porn in the news. Atrocity porn, I've talked about it before on a long live stream actually, describing how atrocity porn is one of the primary information tools in warfare, um, putting a spotlight on real or imagined atrocities, such as October 7th, which was clearly partly real and partly imaginary because it was obviously created by Israel, by let's say by the Zionists to create casus belli, to clear out Gaza, to get that gas, to and to do other things. Now, there's a lot of atrocity porn coming out. It's all over the MSM now, mainstream media, about what's going on in Iran. For instance, here's one from NBC News. It's horrifying. Videos of body bags and machine guns give rare glimpse of Iran's bloody crackdown. That's one headline. And another one is, this is not atrocity porn, but it's just a setting stage. CNN. The weapons the U.S. can employ in any new strike on Iran. And it goes on and on and on. Live updates. Trump claims killing of Iran protesters has stopped as Tehran signals executions ahead. There's been a huge amount of information about Iran planning to do a bunch of public executions. Iran allegedly airs 97 coercive confessions amid record-breaking North Korean-style internet blackout. And here's another one from Newsweek. Iran state TV threatens Donald Trump. Bullet won't miss. That's interesting because, yeah, just interesting because keep in mind, we can't trust anything that's coming out at all. It doesn't matter the source. If it's an MSM source, that there's negative trust, in fact. And we also know the players involved will kill huge numbers of people in service of an actual information game. They'll kill, I mean, we've seen Israel kill Israelis. We've seen Israel kill Americans, USS Liberty, and many, many more. Um, it's just becoming more intense. Now, many people have said that Israel can never fall and yada, yada, yada. Okay. Why are Israelis moving to Argentina? Why are Israelis moving to Panama and Thailand? There's Israelis flooding over Cyprus into Europe. Of course, Europe is a battle zone. I mean, Russia could literally nuke United Kingdom and Germany. This is serious. I mean, they're really talking about these sorts of things, and it's not idle talk. The Ukraine war continues to boil. Meanwhile, here we go. How do some Trump voters, this is ABC, how do some Trump voters feel about U.S. strikes in Venezuela or possible action in Iran/Greenland? Well, they're going to tell you how you're supposed to think. That's how this goes. Anyway, it's clear that something that the kinetics will continue with Iran. Iran's obviously got a lot of missiles. Everything is on the table, even missiles flying into Europe or the United States, allegedly from Iran, that are actually coming from somebody else. Who would that somebody else be? Well, it would be obvious, right? It would be Israel. So, I mean, I'm not saying that will happen, but that is how they roll, period. We know that. It's just a done deal. So, I know the truth people go crazy. And I actually got a call yesterday, by the way, that somebody else got a call that I was being accused of anti-Semitism by some white guys who claim to be Jews in Israel and Israelis. I mean, you can't make up this stuff. And stuff like, for making comments like I'm making now. Anyway, it goes on and on. Here's another atrocity porn. CBS, over 12,000 feared dead after Iran protest. This video shows bodies lined up at morgue. We can't trust any of this. We can't trust anything at all. Zero. And then they'll counter with, "Well, you're saying it's not 12,000." I'll say I didn't say it's not anything. I'm just saying I can't trust anything. But they'll often counter that with, "Well, how many is it then?" You know what I mean? I don't know, and neither do you. In fact, what I do know is that the screen lies. I do know that much. That's clear. And by the way, when I'm reading off CBS and Time and all these different guys, I mean, they're getting their marching orders from the same people. Here we go. 4 hours ago, The Guardian. Iran closes airspace to all flights as foreign minister denies it plans to execute protesters. They want war. I mean, the Zionists want war, so war is going to happen because Trump is a Zionist and he's going to do what his bosses want him to do. Now, when it comes to Greenland, there's a lot more going on here than just Greenland, obviously. Now, the Arctic route is obviously very, very important. Now, let's for those who don't have a map in their head like I do, I have a whole library of maps in my head, so I can see those maps as I'm talking. Um, so if you don't have maps in your head like I do, you might want to pull out the globe or pull out a map, a world map. Actually, it would be really good to have a world map if you listen to my podcast occasionally, because I'm always talking about different places in the world and how they associate with each other, and I see the maps in my mind. So let's talk about the northern route. Alaska is the entrance on the western side, and then Greenland is the entrance on the eastern side, right? There is a lot of strategic importance to Greenland for various reasons. But we're going to get past that soon and get to the gist of it. But also, we see the United States I see an information war building for the United States to take Alberta, which is, a province in Canada. And Alberta actually is on the border of Northwest Territories. Recall that Masako and I went to Northwest Territories about 2 years ago or so, and we went to Yellowknife, which is the capital. It's not a coincidence that we were up there. As you can imagine, it's not a coincidence that I'm in Netherlands either. Or that we're in Netherlands. So if you look at Alberta, where it sits on the map there in Canada, there's a direct border with the United States, and that has a border with Northwest Territories, where Yellowknife is the capital, and it's quite interesting place. It's filled with migrants from all over the world. And which is very odd, way up there in North Canada. It's not just Canada, it's North Canada. It's cold. It's very cold. Northern lights, very bright. Lakes everywhere. Unbelievable numbers of lakes. Now when you look at the map of Canada, this might seem improbable from the outside, but in reality, you can take barges up from Alberta, and keep in mind, Alberta borders the United States. You can take barges from Alberta through Northwest Territories up into the Arctic route. Think about that. I mean, I'm always talking about routes and resources and ideology, but when you look at, for instance, Northwest Territories, there's lots of stuff up there. I mean, it's, gold mining is an old thing up there. There's massive amounts of lithium and other things. Once you've got that waterway really opened up and the northern route's really open, I mean, Alberta, you can drive from Key West up to the Arctic going through, if we were to take Alberta and at that point, Northwest Territories. I haven't heard anybody floating that. But again, Masako and I went to Northwest Territories 2 years ago. Think about it. Think about what I'm thinking about, when we ended up there. Now, I've driven from Northwest. I've been up to Yellowknife twice. The first time I went, I was in the Army. Drove up from San Francisco after graduating from a language school and drove up all the way to Yellowknife. Drove up through Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton, and then up to Yellowknife, which was one heck of a drive. You can look at that on the map and see how far that is. I mean, there was bears and moose all over the place. I mean, we saw quite a few. So, I mean, it's really wild country. And in the stores back then, I remember you could buy shotgun shells and big rifle ammunition and all that sort of thing right there with a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk. And they had moose jerky, elk jerky, as I recall, all kinds of things like that. This is how wild it is, and at that time. And if you're driving up there, whatever you do, don't ever pass a gas station without filling up, even if that means you have to like park and wait for 8 hours until they open. You really needed to, like, don't mess around because you're gonna die. Or you could. It's quite serious. In any case, they've opened the roads much better now, but it's quite serious. But now, if we open up that route if we take Alberta and go, the access to the resources in Canada will be immense. And so that's clearly unfolding. I can see it because I watch Information War, and you can see there's a low-level information war right now, prepping the battlefield to get both Canadians and Americans thinking about, Alberta is a little bit like Texas. They have rodeos and all that sort of thing. So they're actually doing part of the information campaign is to make Texans and Albertans, or let's just say people feel like we're all at home together, right? In any case, that's all about routes and resources. So Greenland obviously is part of that. There's a lot of minerals down there, apparently. I don't know how hard or easy they are to get out. No idea. I hear conflicting reports. Now, Denmark. Now keep in mind, there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. It's not all about Greenland. It's clear. First, let's step back and go to the orbital view. It's clear that there are powers that wish to destroy Russia, China, Europe, and the United States, and clearly themselves. Clearly, there are either by their behavior or just saying it out loud, they're clearly working to destroy the whole thing, right? And some of those are clearly Zionist. And that many of those are Christian Zionists, many are Jewish Zionists, and many are atheist Zionists. But they're clearly they're doing things that will literally destroy themselves. Now, many people will say, that doesn't make sense. Nobody would do that. But when you're, working hard to analyze conflict, to say that doesn't make sense and therefore nobody would do that, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, people do things all the time that make absolutely zero sense. Let's say Hunter Biden's crack habit. I mean, he was the son of the president. He could, he had access to anything in the world. Before even that, as his father was vice president and so many other things, he had access to the world. He could be a very successful and decent man. Instead, he was a crack addict, and maybe he still is. I have no idea. But the point is, people do things constantly, as do tribes and cultures, do things that don't seem to make sense. But they do them anyway, and that includes war. And you can see now, again, people continue to say Israel can't possibly be defeated, even while they're opening up an exit hatch in Patagonia right now. I mean, that the Israelis aren't saying that. That's the others who believe what they've been told, that it just can't happen. It's impossible. Well, it's absolutely happening, and it is possible. I don't know how it's going to play out. I just don't know, but it is possible. But you can see that these same powers are working hard to destroy China, and Russia, and Europe, and the United States, and a lot of other places, and themselves. There are various power structures at play here. Of course, the Chinese, they want to take Taiwan, they want to take Okinawa, they want to take China, Japan, and they want to take Thailand. Not just Taiwan, but Thailand as well, and some other components out there. So there's a lot going on. But let's go back to Denmark. On Denmark, because I had to say those other things to set the table for what I'm saying now. There's a clear war against Russia. Russia notices it. Russia is actually threatening to nuke Japan and United Kingdom, which would be the end of them. I'm sorry, not Japan. Threatening to nuke Germany and United Kingdom. They're actually threatening to do a nuclear attack. Now, that's not in the news much, but there it is, because of the Ukraine war and other things that are going on. Meanwhile, those same Zionist forces wish to destroy both the rest of Europe and Russia and the United States. So how would you want to affect this? Look at what happened at Nord Stream, groaning and closing, and that sort of thing. The Danish Straits is one of the most important maritime waterways, chokeholds in the world, right? The Danish Straits. And guess where the Danish Straits is? Denmark, right there. If you look on the map, Denmark and Sweden, Denmark, can easily control the Danish Straits. And just like, all those countries right around the Strait of Malacca, like, let's say the in the immediate vicinity there, can close that one, right? Or the little Houthis, very small group, relatively speaking, can close the Red Sea. This is the Bab al-Mandeb. So, this is easily done. Now, there's a lot more going on with Denmark. Denmark is a serious player. They're small. They don't have a lot of people. They're very rich, but they still tax the heck out of their people, but they're a very rich country. Maersk Shipping, as an example. I mentioned a couple days ago that Panama plays into this formula in the Danish. Now, I understand why a lot of people have no idea where I seem to say that out of the blue, but if you look at the influence of Denmark in Panama, it's quite serious. They own the railway. They bought it suddenly when Trump started talking about taking those two ports on either end of the Panama Canal to take those from China, who operates them, leases them. Then Maersk immediately bought the railway, very important railway. And now what I'm saying right now, I don't think is in the news at all. Maybe it is, but Maersk apparently is trying very hard to buy those two ports. And now there's a court decision unfolding in Panama now. I have no idea how it's going to go regarding the legality of the Chinese operating those ports. Let's see. Obviously, there's not going to be any fair court, but it's going to be some political court. The money's going to talk, and money and guns are going to talk, right? So Maersk is a major player in Panama. Maersk is Danish, right? Another major player is MSC. That's an Italian company. Their headquarters is in Switzerland. They're Mediterranean Shipping Company. Mediterranean Shipping Company is really close with BlackRock. They're, right there, right? BlackRock wants those ports. Mediterranean Shipping Company wants to be involved and wants that railway, right? So we're talking about a lot more going on here than just Greenland when we talk about Denmark. We're talking about, I think, I've never heard anybody saying what I'm going to say now, but I sense there's a chance that we're at some point going to find some casus belli to go after Denmark. Now, some people say, well, that's impossible. We don't even have the army to do that. Yeah, we do. Right there in Ireland, right? Ireland's been invaded. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying Ireland would be the one, but Ireland has been invaded with the help of the same people that brought them through the Darien Gap and all over Europe, right? The IOM and all these people, Hayes and all that, you heard Netanyahu threaten Ireland just a couple of years ago. Now, you could easily, these people from so many countries, this is an old game plan. This is an old thing that's been done for many, many centuries. You can take those people and fashion them into an army. That's simple. That's child's play. That's normal. These kinds of things have happened so many times, I wouldn't even know where to start counting. That's what Green Berets do, actually, and is go help build armies like that, right? That's why one of the reasons Green Berets even exist, right, is to go raise up armies like that. So the idea that can't be done, where did Green Berets come from? That's one of the main missions, right? And some components of SEALs do the same, and CIA, right? And so this is just normal. And it's been done for many, many centuries. Romans used to do it. So many people, right? And in Israelis do it with Kurds. They use Kurds to do a lot of fighting and that sort of thing because, Kurds and Israelis, some component of Kurds, a very large component of Kurds, see themselves as brothers and sisters with Israelis. So, bottom line, Denmark itself, the body of Denmark, could be on the menu. How that would happen, I do not know. But just like with Nord Stream, I didn't know how they would take it out, but Masako and I strongly thought that they might, and they did. And likewise with Groningen, right? And so many other things. Like how did we predict screwworms before the vast majority of anybody had ever heard of them? The vast majority of people never heard of them. And, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, we were publishing, we think screwworms are going to make it back to the United States through Panama. And people are going, oh, here's another wild thing. And then now it is an issue, right? Because we know how this beast is breathing. We know a lot of its habits. This beast could easily, I'm just throwing this out there, it's something that could be done, could easily raise up an army of those people on Ireland and use that army to go to places like Denmark. And then if you take Denmark, you can close the Danish Straits, which also will affect everybody else. Look at the map. Who else that affects up there? Everybody else that's using the Baltic, right? Look at that. Look at the map. Germany, Poland, right? And the whole works. Finland, Norway, Sweden. Sweden, and you can certainly Russia, right? This is big players, and so that's one of the main sea routes. Now another one will be here where I'm at, Netherlands. I mean, again, if I'm somewhere for any extended period, it's not a coincidence. Netherlands is another. If you're going to take Denmark, that would be an obvious place to control. You would also want to take this place, Netherlands, because of Rotterdam, right? And Antwerp down in Belgium is right down the road. So those are the two biggest harbors in Europe, or biggest, and you can go right up the Rhine River from Rotterdam and go all the way through Germany and all the way up to Switzerland, all the way up to the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. The headwaters of the Rhine are up there in the Alps, right? So I mean, that's the Mississippi of Europe, is the Rhine River. So there's a lot more going on too. By the way, you can go from Rotterdam all the way across Europe and stay on water the whole way because they built a canal, right? There's a canal that connects a couple of the rivers. And so you can, through river systems and a canal, you can actually go from Romania all the way across and come out through Netherlands. There's all kinds of things like this a lot of people might not realize. There's extensive canal systems in Europe, extensive, obviously, trains and everything else. So the infrastructure is already built. So now it's just been a matter of getting rid of the population here, which they're working on. So you can easily see, as this unfolds, using Ireland, I'm just saying as a for instance, I'm not saying that's what will happen, but using Ireland as a place to build and deploy your armies. And it's also clear that the United States, under the current regime, is quite interested in taking out Great Britain, really taking them out. Meanwhile, you see the uproar over Greenland. You see France and others threatening the United States. And of course, Americans will go, "Oh, it's France. They'll fight France." But this is playing into the Zionist hands, and the Russians too. Depending, because there's multiple players out here. This is a multiplayer game. You got the Chinese; they're not our buddies. Russians, I mean, we should be allies, but we're not. And so now they're threatening to actually nuke Europe and Great Britain over Ukraine. So this, instead of, if we're going to leave NATO, which I'm not a fan of NATO, but if we're going to leave, it doesn't make sense to also just burn down all of our relations. But there is a big board going on out here, and the people that are operating the big board are not exactly geniuses. It doesn't take as much intelligence to be a bandit and to be an arsonist as it does to actually build these things up, right? It doesn't take that much sense. It doesn't take that much intelligence actually to go in and scarf up a man and his wife out of Venezuela. I mean, really, how hard is that? Really, on the scale of things, it's not hard to burn things down and kick beehives, especially if that serves the ultimate purpose of also destroying the United States. War likely is going to unfold more kinetically with Iran. It's never ended. And obviously, we know where that's coming from. Although a lot of people are totally cheering for it with like no self awareness whatsoever. They're talking about how China can do things to us in Greenland. Chinese are all over the United States. Trump's been handing out visas. They have secret clearances, top secret clearances, many of them. They're growing dope up in Maine and other places. They're bringing drugs into the United States constantly. They live all over the place. They've taken parts of Canada already, right? And also in the in Bahamas, they got a port right there. They operate ports in the United States, and we're talking about what they're going to do in Greenland. Obviously, that's a lie, but but it sells, and it's the kayfabe. At the end of the day, a lot of things are going on. There's a lot of complexity involved in this, and we're not talking about people that are very ultimately sophisticated other than in how to fool people and be bandits. And they are destroying the world that we live in. So that's enough. It's getting close it's about 5 a.m. here. Thank you for everybody who supports Misako's work and my work. We are one heck of a team. And so we are going to be meeting with some interesting people soon, and then going to some different countries, and we'll tell you all about it. It's obviously related to all this, and we appreciate the financial support. We absolutely need it. It's a must. All of our enemies are very well funded, but we're not. But thank you for everybody who's supporting. Join up on Substack. You can send by Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, checks in the mail. All that information is below. We 100% need it. We 100% appreciate it. And get ready. And I'll keep giving reports with these outlandish potential scenarios like the famines that I've been warning about for years are clearly building. I know a lot of these things sound out there, so I'm just saying prepare for these things. Prepare. So God bless you, and talk with you soon.